Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trusts and how they just seem to keep on dipping, but there's plenty of dip buying opportunities here. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so you guys will have to excuse me. I am a little bit tired. Been working some pretty late days, unfortunately, because the job just sucks, and I'm looking to get out of it. But let's go ahead and get into the content. So LTCN, as you guys can see, has broken the first downtrend line here. If we go way back, you guys can see it's kind of been riding this trend line for a while. So what do I expect is going to happen? Well, because we had a daily close on here and most likely a weekly close at this point, it is probably going to come back and retest this support zone, which is somewhere along this trend line. So roughly about $13 to $15 is kind of what I expect. It might have a temporary bounce somewhere in here in the $17 to $18 level. You can see there's a couple tops there. So something to keep an eye out on. The other thing I want to point out here is that LTCN is also hitting oversold on the RSI. You guys can see last time this happened, it absolutely ripped. Doesn't necessarily mean that it actually has to come up right away. I just want to point that out to you guys as a potential early reversal sign. So now going over to the weekly, you guys can see that this weekly candle was pretty nasty looking. I mean, again, basically the Fed came out and said that they're not going to cut rates, and the market didn't want to hear that. And I mean, the markets haven't really tanked, but it did kind of have a little bit of an extra negative effect on crypto. And the reason this matters is because when the Fed cuts rates, the value of the dollar index will go down. And as you guys know, the dollar index and Bitcoin have an inverse correlation. So when the dollar is strong, generally speaking, Bitcoin's not going to be as strong. And when the dollar is weak, that means that money is flowing from the dollar into risk on assets like Bitcoin, like the grayscale trusts. So just some food for thought there. So we do have a bearish confirmation close below this trend line here. Again, expecting it to kind of move down to somewhere in the support. The first target, once again, is going to be $53 when it does resurge. So if I were just to do a measured move from the support up to the swing high, it's a 313% move. And then again, above and beyond that, the targets we're looking at is $75, $100, which is up in this resistance area, and $135 respectively. So for those of you guys that have not seen these videos yet, the reason that the swing high is an object, or a target, I should say, is because of this control bar here. So the wick high matches up with the control bar, and then the $75 level is kind of this cluster of wicks over here. So that's the reason why those are the current targets as of right now. So BCHG looks very similar to LTCN. RSI is still pretty heavily overbought, if you ask me. So we did get a sell below this support level here. So as of right now, I'm going to go ahead and change this to resistance, because this trend line is now not serving as a breakout, but potentially a resistance line. So $7 to $8 is going to be roughly about the support here that we're looking at. The swing high is all the way up at $24. So if I were to measure it from the bottom of the support to the swing high, you'd be looking at 244% move. And on the daily time frame, you guys can see we had the triple death cross here on the EMAs. The price is below this resistance level and below the EMAs. The RSI is not as oversold on this one as it is on LTCN. So perhaps LTCN will actually bounce before BCHG does, and BCHG might kind of stay at lows a little bit longer. We'll just have to wait and see. So HZEN, this thing really seriously wants to hold that trend line. So as of right now, the trend line and the support are still going to serve as support. The target we'd be looking for is all the way up here at 1050. So support currently 380 to about 420, 430, somewhere in there. And then the resistance above that, $7 to $8. So if I were just to take a measured move from the current price to the swing high, you're looking at about 136% move on HZEN. And just so y'all know, we are actually still in a bull trend structurally on this thing. The only way that this would turn into potentially a bear trend is if we get a candle close below the support, which kind of breaks this structure right here and creates a new lower low. Even though it does kind of look like we have a bear trend starting here, it hasn't been confirmed. So as of right now, this thing is still on a bull trend. So ETCG, I mean, this thing's pretty much about where I would be looking to buy it at, pretty much right around these candle bottoms. You can see how many times it touched this area and bounced. That again is going to be roughly about 11, 11:30. I would, yeah, I'd be looking somewhere between 11 to 11:30, 11:40, somewhere in there, which is pretty much about the bottom of this channel here. So the swing high is 1950, as you guys can see all the way up there. If I measure it from the current price to the swing high, 64% move. If I measure it from, let's say, the bottom of the channel to the swing high, it's going to be 74%. And again, ETCG will probably have its largest move once the spot Ether ETFs actually start trading and have ticker symbols that we can look at and that institutions are buying into, because Ethereum Classic and ETCG are oscillators to Ethereum and ETH, which means if Ethereum goes up, Ethereum Classic is going to go up. So ETH, this thing does look like it's pulling back, so I would say probably no bull flag here. I thought maybe there would be a bull flag, but yeah, the price action just failed pretty much. So likely it is going to come back down to the supports. So support's going to be somewhere between $29 to $25. I can actually get rid of this because the bull flag is no longer relevant. The move's been invalidated, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So cup and handle here, that is still confirmed. When and how exactly this plays out, I don't know. I'm just showing you guys the target. So the target's going to be all the way up here at $165. So if I were just to, let's say it gets a pullback just straight into the bottom of the support and then rips, and we go up to this previous resistance here, it's a 91% move. Again, that target would be about $48. However, if we go to the top of the cup and handle pattern, which I do think is actually possible, would be 556%. And the reason I say that is with Ethereum itself, not ETH, but Ethereum, I could see easily going to like $10,000, $15,000. I mean, we saw what what the spot Bitcoin ETFs did to Bitcoin in just like a handful of months. It went from like 30 or 40,000 to 75,000 almost. So just imagine what the spot Ether ETFs are going to do to Ethereum. So Philgy, inverse head and shoulders still hasn't played out. Target's all the way up here at roughly about 590. So again, we're kind of looking for a confirmed break of this downward trend line. We haven't seen that yet. So there's one of two scenarios that could play out here. Either it breaks to the upside and goes and hits this target, which is 491% move, or it gets rejected off the trend line and it comes back down to this support, which of course would be a massive drop. So me personally, because it's halfway in between these two targets here, I would just DCA in if I was going to do this, and I would wait for a bigger move down to actually get in more heavily. And if it started flying to the upside, I'd either get in on the breakout of the confirmation as long as it's not a huge move, or I just simply would pass on the move and just sell for a small profit and maybe move on to something else. That's just me. So again, support is going to be roughly about $36 to $40 all the way down there at that support zone. So the target from there to the swing high, or the projected target move, would be about 1,470% gain. So GBAT, this one does look like it wants to come back down to this trend line and support. So currently that's going to be sitting right around that $10 mark. If I were just to measure from there to the swing high, you guys can see that the move would be massive. It's a 231% gain. There's also the possibility here for if I actually move this, you guys can see it more clearly, an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Again, for some reason, this really seems to be playing out a lot lately on these charts. I don't know why. But if I were just to measure it, let's say a couple of weeks out or something like that, you can see it would have about a $76 or a $66 price target. So basically from the breakout point to the target, you're looking at about 319%. GLIV, very similar thing. So we got a breakout of the trend line, but again, it does kind of look like we're creating potentially an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. Shoulder, head, shoulder. So this is all very bullish for the price. I mean, keyword bullish if it plays out. So let's just say in a couple of weeks it does break out. The target could be as high as $192. So from the current price all the way up to the target, you guys can see it would be a massive return. It'd be nearly 700%. If we get a pullback, it's going to pull back into support, which at this point it does potentially. I mean, if this inverse head and shoulders doesn't play out, it could go back down to support. That's pretty much kind of the thesis right now. So 1150 to 1450 is what you'd be looking at. The move all the way up would be absolutely huge. So 1,558% gain, man. If you can catch that, good job, dude. Like, you've just made serious money. Okay, so G-Link broke the trend line, but again, it does look like it wants to come back and retest support. Last time it barely touched support and then bounced. We'll see what happens this time. So 66 to about 84 is support. Swing high is going to be $220. Let's just say because it is retesting a second time, it does actually get a little bit deeper into the support. Well, if we take the measure move on that, you'd be looking at about a 235% gain. And that's just to get to the all-time high. That does not include price discovery. So GSOL, this one's pulling back a little bit. But again, if it is going to go lower, it kind of needs to get below this 330 to 350 level. If it gets below that, then it is likely going to come all the way back down to the support. And again, that's 166 to 200. Swing highs at roughly about $600. Just to show you guys what that pullback would look like. To get back into these wicks would be pretty large, 12%, but to get back into support down here is 55%. So from the support zone all the way to the high, 256% gain. GXLM is sitting right on this trend line, but it does look a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie. It looks like it kind of wants to break. If it does, maybe it comes down to 24 and bounces. I'll just put like a white line here so you guys can kind of see it. That probably would be where it bounces, would be my guess, the next potential bounce area. But as of right now, I'm just going to go with the assumption that this is a perfect entry because it has kind of ridden this area for a long time. So from there to the swing high, which is $70, it's a 117% move. Mana. So Mana, this one is very interesting. It kind of seems to want to chop sideways and then go up. So I guess the question is, are we seeing another sideways chop before it goes up again? Because that's pretty much what we've seen this whole time. So it went up, went sideways, went up, went sideways, went up, came down. Now is it going sideways before it goes back up? Can't really say at this point. I mean, time will tell. So support currently 1750 to about 20. I'd say about 2040, and then the high up here is going to be about $71. So from the bottom of support here all the way up to the top is going to be about, whoops, let me remeasure this real quick. So about a 303% move. I mean, that's pretty big. Okay, so Zcash, this thing does, it has held at the support, but it does kind of look like it wants to come back down. So I actually need to clear up some of these charts because this is, I don't know why TradingView keeps doing this. It looks really ugly. Yeah, so let me just get rid of a couple of these so it's actually more clear. So if it does come back down, likely it probably comes back down and tests this $3 level because again, there's a lot of candle tops here. So I suspect this is probably going to bounce as support. The move would be, it looks like roughly about 25% down. Yeah, okay, so 28% down. But if it does bounce from here and it goes straight back up, you'd be looking at 134% move. Again, that's 10 and a quarter on the target. And assuming it drops and then moves back up, you'd be looking at about 220% move. So it's amazing how much a little bit of a dip can make a substantial difference in the amount of profit that you make. That's something that we always look at on this channel. So anyways, this is the Grayscale Trusts. A lot of bearish price action. I mean, you can look at this one or two ways. Either, oh my God, yikes, everything's going down. Or, just another dip buying opportunity. I mean, there's no guarantee it has to go down. Or I should say there's no guarantee it has to go up, but there's no guarantee it has to go down either. And, the bull run for crypto is, according to the cycles, is scheduled to be roughly about 6 months out. So you guys can do with that whatever you want to. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.